It is easier to get a good Secretary of State on a...
Dr. Jorge Castañeda is one of Mexico's best-known public thinkers. He served as foreign minister for the last Mexican president, Vicente Fox, and he campaigned tirelessly for Calderon in an extremely tight presidential race. But since then, Dr. Castañeda has become one of Calderon's toughest critics, primarily of the president's war on drug trafficking. And he thinks now is the time to do away with the war on drugs with a radical new policy.
I'm totally in favor of legalization of drugs in general and marijuana in particular.
You know, there are people who are watching and listening to this who say, ooh, Dan Rather's interviewing a very radical guy down there in Mexico. He's got all these radical proposals. Do you see them that way?
Well, legalization of drugs doesn't seem to me to be a terribly radical proposal. 47% of the people of California voted for it in terms of marijuana just 4 months ago. Republican conservative like George Shultz and mega financiers like George Soros are in favor of it.
But that's for marijuana, not for
marijuana.
The hard drug. Yes.
Well, we can start with marijuana. Even the U.S. Embassy here says that they estimate, and the DEA uses this estimate, it may be a little exaggerated, that 60% of the profits of the Mexican cartels come from marijuana. Let's say it's not 50, let's say it's 40. Solving 40% of any problem these days is not bad.
What do you make of the proposals to say, listen, what we need to do is cut the production of marijuana? There was a time when Mexico was a transit place, but now a lot of marijuana is grown here. They'll go into farmers and say, instead of growing marijuana, we'll help you plant an orchard or something.
Well, if that had worked somewhere in the world, then I would be, quite willing to consider it here. Alternative crop programs in Bolivia, in Peru, in Afghanistan have not worked. And they haven't worked for the past 40, 50 years. Why? Because you'll never give a peasant the rent, the extraordinary rent on growing illegal drugs by growing, tulips. It's not going to happen.
How can you get at, how can Mexico get out the drug organizations, or can they?
I don't really know how they can. I'm not sure that's possible. I'm not sure it's necessarily desirable in the sense that if it's not possible, what you want to do is set yourself goals that you can achieve. Now, what is it, if you look at the polls and you ask Mexicans, are they worried about drug trafficking? No. Are they worried about drug consumption in Mexico? No. Are they worried about kidnapping, violence? Yes. Okay, so what you want to do is attack those aspects of the violence and insecurity, the collateral damages. You want to stop kidnapping. You want to stop extortion, protection rackets, which are really terribly damaging to small, mid-sized communities. You want to stop automobile theft. You want to stop people's homes being held up. That's what people are worried about in this country. Now, when someone says, well, it's the drug traffickers who do that, well, go after the kidnapper. If he happens to be a drug trafficker also, great, you got a twofer.